Yes, here we go. Episode 15 of the Hibs Ramble. It's me, Liam, back hosting this week. Craig is preoccupied with
Unavailable.
work. So it's just me and Shaun this week. The day after the night before at Dundee United. How you feeling, mate?
Um, feel alright. Feel alright. I'm not too disheartened about it. Obviously you never want to lose games, but um, on reflection, there's positives to take. I certainly didn't think like that last night, but yeah,
Now the dust is settled.
yeah,
We just want to prefix this episode by just chatting very, very quickly about racism in football. And we at the Hibs Ramble, Craig included, and everyone involved with all the Hibs podcasts are absolutely against racism in football. Of course, it has got no place in society. Never mind football. So um, it's just been it's been a difficult last few hours for a lot of people, but we just want to say that we are completely against all racism, and we hope that everyone else is as well. I suppose that's the best way I could put it. And but we're not going to talk about that anymore. We're going to talk about football, Shaun,
yeah.
and we're going to talk about the lineup first of all. An unchanged side. That was a surprise for me. I thought that Lee Johnson maybe would have switched it up a little bit, considering that we've got Celtic Park on Saturday, not
Yep.
Sunday. Were you surprised at all at the same 11 being shown?
I think it would be poor from me to sit here and say that I wasn't surprised, because I think I mentioned that. Well, all three of us have mentioned in the last couple of pods that if it's not broke, don't change it. But we all anticipated a change of some form, and we anticipated at least two changes, um, purely because of the big game that's in Saturday, and we've got what I think a good enough squad where we should have potentially freshened
Yeah.
it up a wee bit last night. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. If we'd went on and won the game starting with the same team, we wouldn't be having the conversation we're having now. But yeah, I was surprised to see no changes. That did surprise me.
Yeah, me too. I was expecting, maybe even McCurdy to start or someone to come in to replace one of the three in the midfield, just to keep it fresh and keep legs fresh for Saturday. I think for me, I would have rather have changed the team last night and then gone back to the old faithful for Saturday. But Lee Johnson's seen them all week in training. I say all week. He's seen them the last couple of days in training, and has obviously thought that the same 11 should be the team to start. But
I think
like
that
you
would
said,
have, and again hindsight and all that. I do think it would have made sense. He touches on. I know we'll talk about Lee Johnson's comments after the game, but he does touch on it that he wanted to have as many goal scorers on the pitch as possible to start the game and for as long as possible during the game. So
mhm,
maybe that's his reasoning behind starting the way that it started, and again just wanting to keep the positivity throughout the starting 11 and the confidence high. But I do feel like last night would have been a great opportunity to get minutes in the legs of those that needed it. Still, we
yeah,
still would have started with Boyle and Kukurevich and stuff, but maybe one or two tweaks would have been the right thing to do.
yeah. Um, we'll get right on to the game, and I felt like before Dundee United scored, Hibs weren't really in it an awful lot. We had a fair bit of the ball, but it looked like every time that United got it, they were breaking, especially down our right hand side, and they were looking very dangerous. And then 11 minutes in, um, a really good finish to be honest from BH, who scored against Aberdeen as well. Uh, it was I think it's a good finish from a Dundee United perspective, but it's poor defending from a Hibs perspective. Um, Campbell doesn't go with him. He plays like a nice wee 1-2. Campbell doesn't go with him, and he jinks around another couple of defenders and smashes it home from close range.
I think
were
the goal only looks as good as it does because we were so poor, and it does take a deflection after he hits it. And
does it?
I've watched the goal back so many times, and I can't work out if it's Porteous, Hanlon, or Marshall that it takes a deflection off of. And I think it's one of the defenders. I think it's Hanlon that it takes a deflection off of, and that takes it away from Marshall. If we scored that goal, we'd be loving it. We'd be saying it's absolutely tremendous. You know, the way that he takes it around Cadden and gets the finish away. But the defending's atrocious for me.
Yeah, and I feel like
yeah,
I feel like every time that they went down that side, Cadden maybe never had his best game in a Hibs shirt last night, which is a shame because he's been really good this season. Tony Watt seemed like he had his number every single time going down the United left, and unfortunately one of them ended up in a goal, and it did look like a couple of times. I think they had a chance just before they scored that they hit the side netting as well.
Yeah, I think just before they scored, we tried to start fast and tried to start well, but then we couldn't just quite. I know it was 10 minutes in that they scored, 11 minutes in, but prior to that, we were winning the ball very high up the pitch, but then not because they
weren't doing anything
we just couldn't get in behind or do anything with it, and they were just sitting there waiting to break, which is obviously what they tried to do throughout the match.
Exactly, and I think after that we started to come into the game a little bit. We had a couple of chances, but the main one that we're going to talk about. So I was there, and I was just a couple of rows from the front, and when the ball come over and Yuan did his kind of side scissor kick,
yeah,
and it fell to Kukarevich and it went in. I immediately looked over to after I went mental. I immediately looked over towards the linesman to make sure that it was given because I couldn't really see where Kukarevich was when Yuan hit it. It didn't look offside to me. I was just wanting to make sure. Linesman flag stayed down. I continued celebrating, looked around, and people were standing still. And I was thinking, this is weird. Why are people not celebrating? We've just equalised. And then I look up, and it's the big bald goalie putting the ball down for a free kick. You were watching it on the telly.
Correct.
What was your initial reaction? Did you initially think goal, or were you initially a bit?
My initial reaction was it looked like when Yuan's went to scissor kick it, it's like hit his hand and then went through. And I know that sounds really, really stupid because that's obviously not what happened. But at first glance, that's what I thought it looked like had happened before he'd scored the goal. So at this point, and then we went on the score, and I was like, oh, has he handballed it? Has he not handballed it? The ref's not blew up or sound. And then they start celebrating. And there's such a long period of time. Obviously, it was only a couple of seconds, but from a referee's perspective,
it was quite a long time.
Period of time for the ball hitting the back of the net before the players then realised, and before the United fans realised that it wasn't given. I never in a million years thought it was offside. I know that was what it looked like it was originally given for, but the linesman flag doesn't go up at all. But I've watched it back a good 6, 7, 8, 9 times, and the ref goes to give the goal, right? As soon as it hits the back of the net, the ref has absolutely no issues, no problems with it. But as soon as it hits the back of the net, the ref's already looking over to his right and looking at the linesman. So they're in dialect about something, but the flag doesn't come up. Mm-hmm. So I was really confused as to what they were giving it for. Yuan isn't the tallest. It wasn't as if Yuan's foot was high enough to be given for high foot.
Yeah, I can't imagine that it was given for high feet because what else is Yuan meant to do in that situation? It's not as if he's putting his head where others, his feet where other people are putting their head. It's kind of chest height.
It appears now that it was given for a push, the push that Yuan does, apparently, according to Johnson. That's what it's been explained to him as a. So Yuan, as any striker does, they'll just give the defender a wee nudge, try and get an extra yard, make the move, which is what Yuan's done. So it looks like, according to the explanation that he's been given, that's what it was for. There's no getting away from it though. It's ludicrous. It is one of the worst decisions I've seen from a Hibs perspective.
It is a poor decision, to be honest.
If not the worst decision I've seen from a Hibs point of view. And I think we can both agree that not only considering how dominant we were after that, but how dominant we were before it, if we got the goal then,
they would have had to come out again and
it's
leave
easy
the
to
gaps
say,
in
but
behind.
I reckon we would have went on to win the game, but unfortunately that didn't happen, and the officials had a nightmare. And I think that's a reoccurring theme throughout mainly the first half, but the game as a whole. There's a couple of other instances that we'll speak about refereeing decisions, but
Yeah.
it's weird because we don't want to make it sound like refereeing decisions have cost us the game.
No, they haven't. No, absolutely not. I don't think that in any way, shape, or form. But it's certainly not helped
You could
us.
argue
And
you could argue that though, because that the goal that they've disallowed is the most clearest of goals at a vital point in the match. So that has ultimately played a massive part in the outcome. Whereas when people are blaming officials, it's maybe for a penalty maybe not being given or a red card or this, that, and the other subjective opinions on outcomes. But in this one, it's unanimous across the whole of everyone. It was a goal, so it does have a detrimental impact to the outcome of the game, unfortunately.
Do you think we can just go back in hindsight and just take a point?
Well, I was hoping that the ref would have watched it at half time or seen a clip at half time, and in his mind, wrong to say, but I think
subconsciously giving us a penalty or
giving us something or giving but obviously that didn't happen.
Yeah. Do you think that nights like last night, given all the the refereeing mishaps and from all the officials, do you think this sort of would you be happy to see the referees mic'd up like they are in rugby and the NFL and stuff like that? Do you think that would give fans? I think it would give fans a better understanding of where the referees are coming from, and then they would maybe get off their back a little bit more if they understood the reasoning behind what they were making their decisions based on.
I think football fans are that fickle and that set in their ways that if the refs are mic'd up, it would just give the refs more of a reason to be abused. It works in other sports, but I don't think it would work in football.
What about like post-match interviews with the refs?
I think it would certainly help the refs' case, something like that.
Just to explain themselves, because then, we'll look in however many weeks' time and we'll have. It was you and Anderson, the referee, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
We'll have him again, and we'll go, for fuck's sake, that's the guy who disallowed the goal at Tannadice. He's going to have a stinker of the day. So, I mean, he'll probably think that as well. He'll be looking at those replays today and thinking, "Fuck, I've got that wrong. Next time I go and ref Hibs, I'm going to get it tight." Yeah. Whereas, if the referees could do a post match, then
I think just if VAR wasn't a thing, I would think that like post match interviews and things like that would be a good idea for refs. But I think VAR, and I'm a massive fan of VAR, but loads of people aren't because of the way it gets managed. It's like before it came into the Premier League down south. I still do. I watch a lot of Australian A-League football because I've got family over there and I've been over there. So they had VAR when I was over there 10 years ago, and well, maybe not 10 years ago, but not long after I left 10 years ago, they introduced it there. I'm a big fan of Italian football, German football, and they've had VAR in there for ages, and it works.
It does work, and it doesn't work in the Premier League.
In all these different countries, but the Premier League, because they're all Billy Big Boys, they wanted to change the rules of it, and that's why loads of people have got a poor outlook on VAR. And I would hope that when it comes in, it's ludicrous that it's coming in halfway through a season in Scottish football anyway, but I would hope that when it does come in Scottish football, it's managed correctly.
It's going to be us, isn't it? It's going to be us against St Johnstone on the Friday night.
Yeah.
Which is the first game. So I think after last night, I would say, fucking get VAR in. But I mean,
thing is, if you look at if VAR was there last night, right? You've got the goal would be given, in my opinion. The goal would be given and it'd be 1-1. You could argue that depending on how VAR is managed, the push on Josh Campbell in the box when he's trying to follow up, that could have potentially been given as a penalty, based on the penalty ruling. It's a blatant push in the back.
And the elbow on Porteous.
And then the elbow on Porteous. And Butcher doesn't have one elbow.
Was it not? It wasn't Butcher. It was Edwards. Edwards.
Is it Edwards?
Yeah.
The big ugly centre half that chucks his elbows about everywhere and everywhere he plays.
Yeah, Arsenal.
Yeah, Ryan Edwards. Yeah. So he doesn't do it once. He does it twice. He chucks himself about twice. So
yeah.
If the ref's not seen that fair, I get it because he's trying to keep up with play. But VAR then gives that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, and I think for me it's just the like VAR, you know, well, especially when it was first introduced in England, I felt like it took the passion really out, and you score a goal and you didn't care if it's going to be disallowed or not. So,
but you'd rather the right outcome, especially if it's.
You would rather the right outcome, yeah, of course. And football's going that way. It would be naive to say we should never have VAR in Scotland,
right,
because we're a growing league, and we're obviously doing better for ourselves, not only in the club front but on the national front as well. So I think it would be silly not to get VAR involved. But VAR wouldn't have done anything about Kukarevich's absolute sitter in the second half when it was a poor pass back, and he went 1-on-1. For me, Shaun, it looked like he was caught in two minds whether to go round them, hit it first time, take a touch, and at the end he just made the completely wrong decision.
I think he goes to go round the goalie, sees that the goalie's read it and is going to go with him. Because if you see the ball coming through, he goes to continue his run the way that the ball's coming, but then the keeper continues moving that way as well.
Yeah.
So then he panics, takes two extra touches, and then hits it. Whereas his two options there are round the keeper or hit it first time. That's his only two options.
I thought he should have hit it first time on his left foot, and all he needs to do is guide it into the corner, and it's a goal.
Even his right foot, it doesn't matter. Like that needed to be hit first time.
I was celebrating that as well. It looked, see from where I was standing, and everyone around me must have thought the exact same. It looked like he dinked him,
right,
and it went over him, and it was like trundling towards the goal. So we were going mental, going yes, and then the referee points for a corner. We're like, what? So it was. I feel like last night would have been very, very tough on Kukarevich. Firstly, the goal chopped off, then that one. But, it didn't really knock his confidence going forward. He had another chance, which I thought was Porteous.
The overhead kick.
The overhead kick. And it looked from where I was standing, it hit the bar.
So maybe Porteous was the other one, I can't remember.
Well, the one that hit the bar is the one I'm thinking of. Either hit the bar or the goalie saved it.
The goal, Kukarevich got saved.
Like kind of spun up as if it hit the bar. Yeah, really good athleticism. I felt Kukarevich's second half was a lot better than he was first half. For me, he seemed to throw himself to the ground an awful lot in the first half. For a big, strong laddie, we're expecting him to hold the ball up, be strong, fight against the centre halves, but it looked as if he was just trying to buy fouls all the time. Whereas in the second half, he cut that out completely and became that tall, strong focal point of the attack. And then obviously showed wonderful athleticism to get up. I couldn't do that. And direct on target. It looked for all the world like it was going in, but then after that you go, this just absolutely isn't our day. And I felt like it was just one of those nights. We'll go on and talk about the subs in a minute, but did you just feel like it was one of the days?
Yeah,
I think on another day could have been 2-3-1 Hibs.
It's one of those you need one of them to go in, and I think if we'd got one, we may well have got another, and Dundee United might have crumbled. So I know Boyle had a chance in the first half as well when he was through on goal. I know Boyle has a kind of like volley or a half volley in the second half as well. Strikes it well, but goes over the
Yeah.
bar. The two overhead kicks. Henderson's decision making at times was very, very poor, although he has a great strike towards the end of the game as well, which
Yeah.
looks like it's challenging and looks like it could be going in but doesn't. So, I mean, we just need to look at the stats. You know what I mean? We battered them not only from a possession perspective. I think we limited them to maybe 2 or 3 shots on goal the whole match, and the only one they maybe got on target was the one that they scored. So
That was their only shot on target. Aye. I'm just
whereas
looking at the stats here, Shaun, and it's. I think if you rub out the scoreline and you look at the stats, you think Hibs have done it
comfy win.
again. It's a comfy win. It's this similar kind of stats as we've seen for the last 4 games before, where we've had a fair few shots on target. Well, we had 10 shots off target, 7 shots on target. So 17 shots, 7 on target
And no
is
goals.
is you know
Their keeper did well, and Big Davy Marshall had nothing to do. So it's one of those we dusted down. Performance was, in hindsight, not as bad as we maybe thought it could have been. So
yeah.
Lee Johnson was, overly happy with the performance. So we've got to trust his judgment,
That's
considering the
true.
way he's got us playing. So yeah.
Talking about you mentioned Ewan Henderson there. I thought when he came on, he was pretty poor.
Yeah.
Not the best that I've seen from Hendo. I was surprised that he came on before McGuinness. I don't know, maybe if McGuinness has got a wee niggle again, or maybe Johnson doesn't want to rush him in for too many minutes too soon. I'm not too sure, but I don't think Henderson was the right sub to make. He,
It's easy to say that now, the way. Do you know what I
give
mean?
him his due though. Give him his due. He didn't hide.
No.
He tried to get on the ball, and even though he was making mistakes, he tried to get on the ball, and he was trying to make things happen, and it just wasn't coming off for him. And I think there's a lot of people shouting about Henderson, Henderson
I've
that.
seen a lot of horrendous shouts on Twitter in the last however many hours regarding
I think
Henderson.
I think people are forgetting that the whole team had moments like that yesterday. The whole team, especially, I mean, Poach's first half, everything that he was trying was going to a tangerine shirt.
Yeah.
But no one will say anything about that because he's Ryan Porteous.
Yeah.
Ewan Henderson will come on and he'll be the scapegoat. I don't think Ewan Henderson played well,
No.
but
But
I
you
think
see that quite a lot when a result doesn't go their way. Hibs fans are very quick to jump on someone. Even when we were winning, they were jumping on Yuan, for example. They thought he wasn't having an overly good game. Even when we were winning and he was contributing, albeit it wasn't scoring last night. It was, Campbell was getting it tight. Henderson got it tight when he
I
came
thought
on.
Campbell played well. I thought Campbell played all right.
I've seen a few dodgy shouts, but overall, like, Ewan wasn't great at all when he came on, and it kind of shows that players like him and even McCurdy as well, who strangely, and I could be wrong, Lee Johnson thought that McCurdy would done well when he came on, but I just
Well,
didn't see it. He looked
I
way off
thought
the pace.
McCurdy played better than he did against Motherwell. I feel like he was trying to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Compared to against Motherwell, where he wasn't given that sort of free role.
No,
And
not really. It was
last night,
non-existent.
I think he was everywhere trying. I mean, he was back at right back. He was out left wing. He was trying to help out everywhere he could. And it just wasn't coming off for him. I think we could have had Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, Mbappe, and all that on the pitch last night. They probably wouldn't have made the difference. I feel that the heart of Dundee United was so strong, and we just couldn't break them down. And the more that they denied us, the stronger I think they felt,
Yeah.
and the more confident they were of shutting us out.
Yeah.
A positive note from the subs bench though is a debut for Big Willie Fish.
Yeah.
Could have been up like a salmon at one of the corners. Up like a salmon. Will Fish. Do you get it?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
We're here all week. We're here all
Love
week.
it.
a debut from him. I thought he didn't have an awful lot to do defensively, but what he did have to do, I felt like he was solid enough. Maybe a good
I
option.
think the only thing he done wrong was, and it's at no detriment to him, he tried to keep the ball in out wide. He kept it in, and then they tried to break on us a wee bit, and then that's when McCurdy came back and swept up.
Yeah.
I thought he'd done all right when he came on, done a job, done what was asked of him. It was easy. I don't want to say it was easy for him, but we went three at the back and kind of went all out attack. But unfortunately, Johnson didn't get us back to back.
Yeah, and a final positive note in terms of the subs is it's good to see Jair back on the pitch again.
Correct.
He's taken a lot of stick from the Hibs fans, rightly or wrongly, for his performances so far this season.
Very, very raw. Very, very raw.
It's good to see him back. I felt like he tried to make things happen out wide left. Maybe he's a bit lightweight, but he's still very, very young.
You could say that about a few of the subs that came on the way. So
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. I was quite surprised of the five, considering we were needing a goal, that he brought on Henderson and McGuinness, who are both arguably tens, and then Tavares winger, and then you've got McCurdy, technically striker winger. I thought we might have seen Melkerson as well come on.
I think he's thinking behind that is long ball into the box because that's what we're trying, and then
I know, but I think when we're talking lightweight, I wouldn't say Melkerson is overly lightweight. I would say he's got a little bit more about him than weight-wise. I feel like he's certainly bulked up in the summer. But again, that might be down to minutes. It might be down to fitness. I don't know. I just felt putting 2 10s on, or having 2 10s on the pitch at one point was maybe not the right move. Having Anderson and McGuinness on the pitch at the same time, I feel like having one of them, and then we could have maybe still had Tavares out one side, McCurdy out another, and then we could have maybe had Boyle, Kukarevich, and Melkerson through the middle, and really went for it. But hey.
No, that's true. That's true. I completely agree with that, to be honest, mate. But we'll wrap up with the Dundee United game. We'll wrap up with two more parts for Dundee United game. One, I was delighted to hear Block 7 shouting their new Kukarevich chant. I'm not too sure how many people got involved. I was down in the bottom tier and they were in the top tier. And I heard them singing the Kukarevich chant and I turned around and I was going, oh, that's...
You're going to sing it? For those that couldn't hear it or weren't at the game, you're going to sing it?
Well, I can't actually remember the lyrics and I've got my pie review up on my phone, so I'll maybe... I'll maybe sing it for you next time. But now, Shaun, it's time for Dundee United's turn in the Cinch Premiership.
Which pie is the best in the pie review? Which pie is the best in the pie review?
Right, Dundee United. I tweeted before the game, I hope the game is better than the pie. And, it really
I feel like this review is going to be one of the quickest reviews so far this season. Would I be correct in assuming that?
It's going to be quite long, I think. It's going to be quite a long review because I've got a lot to say about this pie. Firstly, coming in hot with the temperature, it's a 1. The first 1 of the season. Far too hot. Absolutely boiling. And I had to leave it for 2 or 3 minutes before I even attempted to eat it. Fill-in 1. The second one of the season. Absolutely disgusting. It looked like dog food. I'm not going to say it tasted like dog food because I'm not too sure what dog food tastes like, but if I had to guess, it would probably be that. There was far too much meat, not enough gravy. The meat was chewy, tasteless, and gristly, is my notes what I've got down. It was horrible. It was like the meat was dry and chewy and overdone. Pastry, 1.
Jesus.
It was like a wet paper bag, all round. There was no crisp, not even on the top. It was like a stress ball pie. That's what it was like. Awful, truly awful. Price point, and now for a reasonable pie, I would give this price point a higher score because the pie was £2.80.
That seems like a good price. It does.
But for the quality of the pie, I wish I'd just put it on Hibs to win 5-0 because I would have got the same enjoyment out of losing a bet than I would eating this pie. £2.80. I've given the price a 2 because the pie was so bad. And I actually do have it here. A good price, but what you get for it is a disgrace. Wish I had spent it on something else.
So that gives us an overall score of
6 out of 20.
which
The lowest.
is the lowest yet.
The lowest of the season. I think if there's any teams out there that are listening to this Cinch Premiership review, you'll struggle to have a worse pie. So listen to this one. This is a benchmark for shit pies. If you've got anything better than that, then fling them my way. Dundee United, I'm talking to you now. I'm talking to you. This is directly to you. Your catering is a fucking disgrace. A disgrace. And you'll be hearing from my lawyers in the morning. And that that concludes this week's Cinch Premiership review.
Which pie is the best in the pie review? Which pie is the best in the pie review?
Okay, Shaun, moving on. We're going to talk about the Celtic game on Saturday. Are you going? Have you got a ticket?
I did not manage to get a ticket, no. Wasn't quick enough on the buzzer.
Oh, that's a shame.
You?
I was going to go, but me and the missus are going away for her birthday this weekend. So I'm not going unless it's all right for her if I take her to where we're going and then drop her off, go to the Celtic game and then come back, pick her up and bring her home.
Funny you should say that because when I went away for Chloe's birthday in April, the weekend we went away just happened to be the semi-final at Hampden against Hearts.
Oh, really?
So she did get left.
Oh, really?
Go to the game.
Well, I can actually one up you on that. Is the week before that game, and I had a ticket for Tynecastle. The game we got beat 3-1 at Tynecastle. I had a ticket for Tynecastle, and Megan was so ready to burst pregnant at that time, and I said to her on the Friday night before I went, whatever you do not go into labour tomorrow, because I'm going to the football. And she was like, "Oh, well, I'll try." And then she woke up at 6 a.m. in labour, and I was going, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" And I was going, "Do you think I'll be able to go to the game?"
That's terrible.
But no, I never said that. We got to the hospital. I managed to get the game on my phone.
So it's not. So you didn't one up me then because you didn't go to the game.
No, I never went to the game. I was just saying that this was a.
Yeah, but it would be a one up if you
situation.
went to the game because that'd be worse, no?
I suppose so. I maybe no one up.
I
is
ended
the right
up going to the game with Chloe's family anyway. So I
one.
left.
Oh, did you?
Left her up north, drove down south. Well, it was technically south from where we were. Went to the game with her family, and then went back up north.
Why did she not just go as well?
She just didn't.
Fair enough. I was standing right.
Didn't
That was
didn't want to ruin her birthday weekend.
I suppose. So that was the day that Mila was born, was when we got beat 3-1 at Tynecastle. But she was born after.
So it doesn't count.
She was born like in the evening time, and I said to Megan, I went, I cannot believe that Hibs have never been beaten by Hearts in Mila's lifetime. Fast forward, not even a week, and then the first defeat to Hearts. But yeah, Celtic game. We're off on a tangent here. Celtic game. It's a. I think it's a big game for both Hibs and Celtic. To be honest with you, Hibs are looking to kind of cement themselves in that third spot. Celtic, obviously, trying to race away at the top of the division.
Yeah.
Not a great result last night for the Hoops.
No.
But do you think that we will go there and win on Saturday?
I think we will need to be at our absolute best, and Celtic will still need to have an off day for us to get a win. I think it will be a very close encounter. I'll wait till we go through our prediction before I give you my full prediction of the result. But I think it will be. I mean, it's Celtic away. It's an extremely tough place to go. But no, I do not see us getting a victory. Unfortunately.
Well, nice and positive, Shaun. That's what we like to hear. Lee Johnson, after last night, said that there would be, he may be thinking about a couple of changes. He's given something to think about, at least for Saturday's lineup. Are you expecting to see the same lineup, or do you think that there'll be changes? And if so, Shaun, what will those changes be?
Well, I said it a couple of pods ago when we kind of touched over the Celtic game when we were talking about predictions for teams. I thought he would have rested and changed up for Dundee United in preparation for Celtic to then get some fresh legs and get some minutes in the bodies, but obviously didn't do that. I still stand by my latter part of that point is that I do think he will change it. I think we'll change shape. I think it will be a 3-4-3, 3-5-2 kind of diamond in the middle with the wing backs, kind of what we went to towards the end of the game last night. And I think from a change perspective, I think at centre half it'll depend on whether Rocky is fully fit and ready to go. If not, it'll be Big Willie Fish that'll come in. I'm hoping it's Rocky, purely because it might be too big an occasion for Big Will Fish, but we'll have to wait and see. And I think there might be a change in the middle as well. So I think we could see maybe Yuan maybe dropping out and us going with Kukarevich and Boyle up top, with maybe Campbell or McGuinness in behind. And then we'll have a third centre half coming in. That's what I think it'll be.
Well, you've certainly thought about that one, Shaun, and I haven't thought about it at all. I think there will be changes. I think probably he'll need to change shape against Celtic away. We obviously don't want to do in. I think if we'd have won last night, it probably would have been a little bit more difficult for him to pick a team than it would have been as it stands now that we got beat. So he could kind of take players out, and he's not going to get that. Oh, you should never change a winning team nonsense from people like Sean Corrigan. No, I think Yuan might be one of the casualties. I think Cadden also might be one of the casualties after last night. Like you said,
who comes in?
I think
Cadden drops out and we play a 3 at the back.
I think if we play a 3 at the back, then it's going to be. You put me on a spot here, Shaun.
Your only option, if we're playing a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3, your only option would then be Boyle at wing back.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you can't take Cadden out and then play a back four, because I can't imagine Lewis Miller. He wasn't in the squad last night, so I don't think he's fit. And I wouldn't chuck Lewis Miller in.
He's not injured. He'll not be match fit because he's played barely any minutes. So
I wouldn't chuck him in at Parkhead anyway, because I don't think that's very fair. So it just depends really. I think Lee Johnson will pick the best team that he thinks will go out there and get a result. It's hopefully Rocky is back. I'd love to see Rocky back. He's had a fantastic start to the season, and I think if you put him in beside Paul Hanlon and Ryan Porteous at the moment, will be a formidable force at the back, for sure. It'll be
interesting to see who he goes with up top or in the attacking areas, because he has kind of dug out the strikers last night, having a go at the lack of goals from our attacking threats other than Boyle. So it'll be quite interesting to see how he plays it. He mentioned about Nisbet being back on the grass, although it's still too early for him. So he does
Took
seem
the words right out of my mouth there.
Sorry. He does seem quite keen to get Nisbet back as well. And I think it's annoying because you would want a front three or a front two with Kukarevich and Nisbet with Boyle circling around them. I think that would be very dangerous, especially someone
that's right.
Kev, but it's just a little bit too soon for that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think getting Kevin Nisbet back is a huge boost for everyone, especially if by the time Nizzy's back, there's been no goals from Yuan, McCurdy and Kukarevich. I think they'll get off the mark. They will get off the mark before Nizzy comes back. But it's the longer it goes on, I think it's going to be more difficult for them to kind of get going.
And then it makes it easier for Johnson to be able to drop them.
You're absolutely right. So we'll go with your predictions now, Shaun. What is your score prediction for Saturday?
I'm tied between 1-1 and 2-1 Celtic. I think Celtic might just have a little bit too much for us, purely because of how good they are going forward. I know we've got Scotland's number one in goal, but I think it will just be a little bit too much. I think we'll just lose out 2-1, unfortunately.
I think I'm going to go for 2-2 because I was going to go for 1-1, and then you mentioned 1-1, so then I had to rethink my answer. So I'm going 2-2. I think we've shown this season that we'll fight to the bitter end. We even showed that last night. We can score at Celtic Park. They're not Pep's Barcelona. They're not PSG. They are a very beatable outfit. Granted, we've not beat them there for about 12 years. But I think hopefully we'll come out of there with a result. I would ideally have liked to have seen us in the Motherwell Dundee United and Celtic games. I would have been delighted to see us come away with 7 points. 6 points would have been great. But as it stands, it's maybe looking like we're only going to get 3 or 4 out of 9. Is that acceptable for you?
Absolutely not. Because I don't want a reoccurring theme of us dropping points against teams that we shouldn't be dropping points against. We're sitting third in the league, and we've lost to St Mirren. I know they started well, but realistically, it's St Mirren. They're poor. They are a poor side, and they will always be a poor side. So we shouldn't be getting beat away to them. We lost to Livy. Granted, it's a tough place to go, but Livy at the time weren't really that great, so we should have got signed for that game as well.
I think that was just
every time we seem to lose a game or drop points, it's against a side that we really shouldn't be doing that against. So that is a theme that I don't want to start reoccurring. So I expected us to get 3 points last night. I really, really did. I would have obviously been happy with the 1 because we're still then unbeaten or on that unbeaten run, but unfortunately that wasn't the case, and now we're sitting with a big L. Yeah,
well, I think with the 4 wins on the bounce before it kind of softens the blow a wee bit.
Yeah.
That's 12 points out of the last 15. 12 points out of the last 15, and that's form that we never hit last season at all. Apart from maybe at the start, but I don't think we got 4 wins on the bounce at the start of last season.
The performance was key in those games as well. So even last night. So as long as we can see the performances are there and the results are ticking through, then we'll be all right.
For sure. We're going to move on to some questions now. We got quite a lot of questions, or quite a few questions, in for Monday's podcast that we had with Block 7. If you've not had a wee listen to that yet, go back and have a listen. It was a really good chat that Shaun, Craig and I had with Block 7. So about their roots, how they formed, what they're up to at the moment and their aspirations for the future. So if you have not listened to that yet, jump across. It's on our YouTube, on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and everything. So it was a really good chat, a good listen. But a lot of you sent in questions for that podcast that we didn't get round to because we chatted on for so long. Not all of them are relevant now because I think a few of them were about Dundee United, which obviously we've spoken all about the United game now. But there is a couple from Monday that we'll get round to now, and it's one's from John McIntosh as always. He's asking what we're having for our dinner. So what did you have for your dinner on Monday night, Shaun?
It was you had a pasta bake, eh?
I had a pasta bake.
I had a pasta dish as well. I don't think it was a pasta bake, but it was definitely I think it was pasta and chorizo. Yeah.
Who made it? You or Chloe?
Chloe.
Love
Tremendous.
Megan made my pasta bake as well. She's getting quite good at the old pasta bake. She's refining it right down.
I think we're having one this evening as well. So looking forward to that one.
I've got an Asda pizza in the fridge for this evening, but I'll move on to what we're having for our tea this evening as well, because John again has asked us. The second part to John's question was, can we just appreciate how good Joe Newell and Paul Hanlon have been this season in general? And I think we have spoke about it before.
I think we spoke about Paul's resurgence as well.
Post Livy.
I'm quite glad that Joe Newell's getting the plaudits that he deserves. He's been very unfortunate to play with very poor players next to him and under poor managers. But when he first came in, I could tell that there was a very talented player there. So I'm glad he's slowly starting to come out a little bit more now. So
yeah, for sure.
Long may that continue.
For sure. Kev Wilson and Gav Dick have asked similar questions. I'm very glad that Craig's not here because he seems to have an issue with Gav Dick. He always, I don't know what it is. He always brings them up for spelling errors and stuff. So Kev and Gav have asked about Noah Kenny. Gav actually says, and he's put in his question, I hope my grammar is up to Craig's standards this week. And for me, it is, Gav, but I'll need to get Craig to have a wee look at it. Just about Noah Kenny, and think we've unearthed a wee gem here. And I completely agree. I think he's been the player that we have been crying out for a number of years now since Marvin Bartley left. You know, I think, Shaun?
I think if he wasn't as good as the player we needed him to be, Joe Newell and Josh Campbell wouldn't have had a stronger start to the season. So yeah. I'm a big Noah Kenny fan, and I understand why he got hooked at halftime last night. He started the match really, really well. I thought breaking up a lot of play, but then he started to tail off and got quite poor towards the halftime. And obviously, because we're getting beat, I understand why he was sacrificed. But I think if we were to get big results this season, he'll be key to that.
Yeah, for sure. And John, again, what we're having for dinner tonight?
Probably another pasta dish.
Another pasta, and I think I've got Asda pizza, John. So that answers your question. And if you're listening, John, can you tell us what you're having for your tea? Because we never ever find out. You always ask us, and I've just realised that we've never actually asked you. So if you could message us and let us know what you're having for your tea, we would greatly appreciate it. And if you could send any pictures, that'd be even better. He says, what are you having for tea and what's the squad for Saturday in your opinion? You've already gone over it. I've not really had any time to think about it. So I'm just going to say what Shaun said. That's my answer.
Which was?
Not got a fucking clue. Something about Kyle McGuinness playing in behind or something. A diamond or something.
Oh my god. Too busy trying to be a fantastic host, so.
Yeah, exactly. Craig's away, so I've got to try and make up for it somehow. And we've got a couple of questions from people that we've not had questions from before. So thank you very much for getting in touch.
Big shout out and thank you to everyone that's all the new listeners after the Block 7 podcast.
Yeah,
to have you on board.
For sure. We've got Ewan. He asks, what was your thoughts on an unchanged starting 11 and how do you rate our chances on Saturday now? We've already gone over the fact that it was an unchanged 11. I wasn't so sure that it should have been an unchanged 11. I think you were kind of in the same boat, Shaun. But I think our chances on Saturday, I think, to be honest, maybe a little bit better now than they actually would have been, given the fact that we got beat. I know it sounds stupid.
I completely understand. Yeah, I get
But-
that. It's easier for Johnson to make the tweaks that he needs to make.
Yeah, and I
and
think the tweaks
less
that
than-
everyone's kind of been crying out for, not
Yeah.
crying out for, I think that's the wrong choice of words, but maybe the tweaks that he maybe wouldn't have gotten away with when we were winning.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe a good way to put it. And finally, we've got Lewis Connor, and he asks, and I think this is going to be a resounding yes. Is the refereeing decision to disallow Mikola's goal the worst decision you've ever seen? It certainly is for me.
I can't.
And
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any other worse ones. Definitely not from a Hibs perspective. I know you've got a couple of goals against Hearts that should have been goals, but I think this one is the worst from a Hibs perspective that I can remember off the top of my head anyway.
yeah, no, I completely agree. Although I think it's karma coming around to us for Paul Hanlon's goal against Dunfermline in 2012 at Easter Road. We beat them 4-0. You remember? It was a header from a corner. It was a header from a corner. It hit the bar and bounced maybe like 3 or 4 yards, like back into the 6-yard box, and it got cleared away, and the referee gave it as a goal. If you've not seen it, look it up.
What was
It was
the
in
score
the-
when that happened?
We won. I think it was already 3-0.
So it doesn't matter.
But
then.
it was a game that was really important. It was the season we got beat in the cup final against Hearts, and I think we were
at
down.
home, eh? At home.
It was at home. We
I
were
remember
down.
now, I remember
We were
it.
down there with Dunfermline, and
Ah.
it was a bit of a 6-pointer, and we came away with a 4-0 win. If you've not seen it, try and find the highlights on YouTube and let us know what you think about Paul Hanlon's goal, because goal and in speech marks, because he headed it and it hit off the bar, and honestly it bounced about 4 yards and nearly bounced off the 6-yard line and away again. It was, and I think that it's karma coming round for that, to be honest with you, mate. But and that wraps us up all the questions. So once again, we want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's sent in a question, everyone who listens to the podcast. If you ever want to get in touch, we are at the Hibs Ramble on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, the Hibs Ramble on YouTube. You can get us obviously on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you are missing us between now and the time that we go and play Celtic, if you've listened to this before Saturday, you can go back and listen to our chat with Block 7, episode 14, or go. No, it's not. It's episode 15. No, is it? Yeah, it is. It's episode 15. And you can go back and also listen to mine and Shaun's top 10 definitive list on Hibs shirts. But again, thanks for listening.
What number episode is that one?
I think it is. It 9? Is
Episode 9 and episode 15 are the more non-game related ones that people can listen to for all the new listeners out there. So a couple
For
of
sure.
great episodes there.
If you want to listen to us ramble on for a wee bit longer, then you most certainly can. But Shaun, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you this afternoon. It's as always, it's lovely looking at you over this screen, and the audio only listeners really don't know what they're missing. To be honest with you,
into the YouTube, lads, and get the video fired up. Get us in your
Absolutely.
living room.
Absolutely, on the big telly. That's what I do every time. But yeah, again, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. We're trying to bring our best every week to bring you the best Hibs content that we can. And we will catch you next week for a Celtic review and a preview of whoever the fuck we're playing next. Is this the Johnson on the Friday night? Oh, Friday night, and I feel all right. Anyway, cheers, guys, and I'll see you all in a bit.
See ya. Bye.